The doctor leaned back in his chair and steepled his fingers. "You're sure this is what you want, Mr. Hayes? Because there's no going back. Once we begin, there's no turning off the machine. Are you sure?" Frank Hayes shifted uncomfortably in the padded chair. He was strapped in, but not too tightly. The leather restraints were more to keep him from pulling out the tubes and catheters that snaked up his arms and down his throat. The room was sterile, white walls and stainless steel instruments. The kind of place that made him think of cold, hard, clinical efficiency. Not the kind of place he could have ever imagined experiencing pleasure, but the alternative to this was a life with crippling anxiety and panic attacks. So here he was. The doctor had told him it was experimental, cutting edge. All the things you want to hear when you read about, to strap a man in and force him to relive all of his memories, good and bad. But the risks were worth it. This therapy was supposed to wash away his traumas, purge them from his mind so he could move forward in his life. "I'm sure," Frank said, his voice echoing strangely in the vast room. He closed his eyes as the doctor pressed a button. At first, there was nothing but darkness. Then images began to bloom behind his eyelids. His memories. His mother cradling him after he scraped his knee as a boy. Him and his dad fishing on a rickety dock. His first date in high school. The girl's face blurred, but he could remember how her hand felt in his. Each memory was like a key, unlocking a part of his past, releasing a flood of emotions. There was joy, sadness, anger, fear. The full measure of a life well lived. But then a new memory intruded, forcing its way into the narrative of his life. He was 10 years old, and his parents were arguing. It wasn't unusual for them to fight, so he didn't pay much attention at first. But then his dad's voice changed, becoming a snarl instead of an irritated sigh, and his mom screamed. A primal, terrified scream that tore through Frank's young body like a shard of glass. Then he saw the blood, his mother's blood staining the carpet a deep, sickening red. Frank jolted upright, gasping for breath. The memory wasn't supposed to be there. His parents had died in a car crash when he was 10. He remembered the funeral, the hollow ache in his chest, the whispered condolences of family and friends. He remembered burying his parents in the same grave, the cold mud sucking the heat from his fingertips. He didn't remember any fighting. The doctor's voice cut through his haze of confusion. "That was a repressed memory, Mr. Hayes. It's coming back now because your mind is ready to let it go. Let it go." How could he let it go? It didn't make sense. Wasn't the whole point of the therapy to bring back these memories so he could confront them, understand them, forgive himself, or his parents for whatever it was he was holding on to? More memories flooded his mind. His first steps, his first day of school, his graduation, each one carefully curated by his subconscious until they were smooth, polished stones skipping across the surface of his mind. But underneath the light, bright memories were darker, shadier ones that tugged at his soul. And then there was the monster. It started subtly, a fleeting glimpse of something dark at the edge of his vision, a feeling of dread that clung to him like a shroud. But as the sessions wore on, the monster grew, taking shape in the recesses of his mind. One session. Frank was 8 years old again. He was playing in the park when a group of older boys approached him. They were laughing, their voices edged with malice. One of them loomed over Frank, a baseball bat held high. The other two circled, egging the big boy on. Frank backed away, his heart hammering against his ribs. Then the ground beneath him seemed to split open, and the monster emerged, its claws reaching for the sky. It snarled, a sound like nails on a chalkboard, and the boys screamed, scrambling away from the creature. Frank watched, mesmerized as the monster swatted at the fleeing children with its massive paws, its eyes gleaming with a predatory hunger. Then it turned to Frank, its gaze boring into his skull. It took a step toward him, then another, and Frank screamed, the memory flooding his mind with terror. He jolted awake, gasping for air, his eyes wide with fear. The doctor was kneeling beside him, his face creased with concern. "Mr. Hayes, are you all right? What did you see?" Frank shook his head, unable to speak, only the memory of the monster's hot, fetid breath on his neck. As the weeks passed, the memories came back in a torrent, each one more horrific than the last. The monster was always there, lurking at the edge of his vision, growing larger, stronger with each passing day. Then one day, the doctor didn't come in. When Frank awoke, the memory that greeted him was the one he had seen before. The one with the baseball bat and the fleeing children. Only this time, the monster wasn't there. In its place stood Frank, his 8-year-old self, wielding the bat, a cruel smile on his face. He wasn't 8 anymore, but he knew one thing. Whatever had been buried deep inside him, whatever trauma he had repressed, it hadn't been the car accident. It had been him.